Watch the same bad day happen to the same man 6 times. Same Tuesday. Same phone buzzing on the same kitchen table. Same voice on the other end. The car needs $2,000 or it doesn't move again. Same problem to the dollar. And 6 completely different lives, decided before he even answers, by a single number sitting quietly in a savings account he may or may not have bothered to build. Because here's the thing, nobody tells you about savings. The number in that account isn't really money. It's a shock absorber. It's the distance between a bad day and a disaster. And that distance is the whole difference between the 6 men you're about to watch. Same emergency. 6 savings levels from $0 to $1 million. At one end, that $2,000 phone call detonates a life, the overdraft, the payday loan, the spiral that takes 2 years to climb out of. At the other end, the same call is a mild annoyance he forgets by dinner. Nothing about the emergency changed. The bill is identical. The only thing that moved was the number in the account, and it quietly decided whether this Tuesday becomes a story he tells for years or a thing he never thinks about again. This is your life at every level of savings. Let's climb it, one rung at a time, and watch the same storm hit 6 different roofs. The first number is 0. Nothing in the account, nothing between him and the world. And the cruel part of 0 isn't being broke, it's being exposed. At 0 savings, you are one bad day away from a crisis at all times, and some part of you knows it, so you live with a low hum of dread that never fully switches off. The $2,000 call comes in, and with nothing behind him, it doesn't stay a $2,000 problem. It mutates. He can't cover it, so the card comes out 20-something% interest, or the payday loan at rates that would be illegal if they weren't so common. Or the car simply dies, and now he can't get to work, and the missed shifts cost him more than the repair ever would have. This is the trap that keeps people poor, and it has almost nothing to do with income. At 0 savings, every emergency gets solved with more debt, and every new debt payment shrinks the tiny gap he'd need to ever start saving. The hole digs itself. And watch how fast it cascades, because this is the part that traps good people who simply had no cushion. The $2,000 goes on the card. The card payment eats the money that was supposed to cover the electric bill. The electric bill goes late, which triggers a fee, which overdrafts the account, which triggers another fee, which bounces the next thing. One $2,000 problem quietly becomes 5 smaller ones, all on fire at once, and none of them were about being irresponsible. They were about having nothing to absorb the first hit. Watch what 0 really costs him, because it's not the $2,000. It's the interest on the $2,000. It's the late fee on the thing he couldn't pay because he paid this instead. It's the second job he takes to patch it, the sleep he loses, the better opportunity he can't chase because he cannot afford 1 week of risk. 0 isn't the bottom of the ladder. 0 is standing under the ladder with no helmet. The first job, before investing, before anything clever, is simply to get off the ground, to put the first dollar between himself and the next bad Tuesday. $1,000. It doesn't sound like freedom. It isn't. But something quietly enormous just happened. This is the single most important rung on the entire ladder, and almost nobody talks about it because $1,000 is unglamorous and small. Here is why it matters more than the jump to $1 million. It's the rung where the emergency stops turning into debt. The same call comes. The car needs $2,000. He's still short. $1,000 doesn't cover it. But now, half of it is handled in cash, and the other half is a manageable problem instead of a catastrophe. He doesn't touch the payday loan. He doesn't spiral. He bends, but he doesn't break. That's the whole magic of the first 1,000. It converts disasters into inconveniences. Below it, a bad day becomes a bad year. At it, a bad day stays a bad day. And there's a psychological shift here that's worth more than the money. For the first time, he has proof that he can keep $1. The low hum of dread drops a notch. He sleeps a little differently. People who've never had a buffer underestimate how much of their stress was never really about being poor. It was about being exposed. The $1,000 won't change his lifestyle. It changes his nervous system. And it's the rung where saving finally starts to feel possible instead of pointless, because he's watched it work once, and once is enough to believe. $10,000. Now the ground under him is actually solid. At $10,000, the same $2,000 emergency isn't even an event. He pays it from the account, the balance dips, and he refills it over a few months without a single sleepless night. The car breaks, he fixes it, the story ends there. No debt, no drama, no ripple. This is the level financial people call a real emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of the essentials, sitting quietly, doing the most boring and most powerful job money can do, nothing, on purpose, until the day it's needed. And here the benefit stops being about emergencies and starts being about power. Because a man with $10,000 in the bank makes different decisions than a man with zero, even on ordinary days when nothing is wrong. He can say no to the toxic job because he isn't one paycheck from the edge. He can wait for the better deal instead of taking the desperate one. He can let a bad customer walk. That's the quiet superpower of a real cushion. It doesn't just protect you from emergencies, it changes how you negotiate with the entire world. Desperation is expensive, and $10,000 is the price of never having to negotiate from it again. He looks the same. His paycheck might be the same, but underneath, something structural has changed. He now has the one thing that lets a person make calm, long-range decisions instead of frightened, short-range ones. $50,000. And the account stops being a shield and starts being a key. At $10,000, savings protected him. At $50,000, savings starts to open doors. The same emergency is now completely invisible, a rounding error. But that's not the story here. The story is what $50,000 lets him do on the good days. This is roughly the number where real options appear. He could put a serious down payment on a house. He could survive a full year of a business that isn't profitable yet. He could take 3 months off to retrain into a career that pays double. $50,000 isn't rich, but it's enough runway to change the shape of a life, not just defend it. And notice the shift in what savings is even for. At the bottom, it was about surviving the next bad day. Here, it's about buying a better next decade. The same dollars that used to just absorb shocks are now ammunition for a bet on himself. Here's the trap at $50,000 though, and it catches people who worked hard to get here. This is exactly the number that a nicer car, or a wedding, or a kitchen renovation can vaporize in a weekend. $50,000 feels like a rival, so people spend it like a reward and quietly hand back the single most valuable thing it bought them, which was options. Picture 2 people who both hit $50,000 in the same year. One sees a reward and buys the upgraded car and the destination wedding. A year later, he's back at $10,000, telling himself he'll rebuild. The other sees a launch pad, keeps living exactly as he did at $30,000, and a year later he's at $70,000, with the down payment, the runway, the escape hatch all still loaded. Same income, same starting point. The only difference was whether they treated the number as something to spend or something to aim. The person who keeps climbing treats $50,000 as a launch pad, not a prize. He keeps it boring, keeps it invested, and lets it stay what it has quietly become, the freedom to say yes to a big opportunity and no to a bad one. $100,000. And for the first time, the number starts working harder than he does. Everyone remembers the first 100,000 as the hardest, and it is, but not for the reason people think. It's hard because for that entire climb, every single dollar had to come from him, his work, his discipline, his skipped wants. Nothing helped. He pushed the whole weight uphill alone. At $100,000, that quietly ends. Because $100,000 invested at a normal return throws off something like $5,000 to $7,000 a year on its own. A second, invisible worker who never sleeps, never quits, and never asks for a raise. It's small next to his salary, but it's the first time money has ever shown up to help him instead of only leaving. The same emergency? He barely remembers emergencies are a category, but that's no longer the point. The point is the tilt. Below 100,000, he was rolling a boulder up a hill. At 100,000, the hill starts, just barely, to slope the other way. The boulder starts helping. This is the rung where patience stops feeling like sacrifice and starts feeling like strategy. He's watched the number grow from something he only fed into something that's beginning to feed him back. And once a person feels that tilt for real, feels compounding stop being a word and start being a paycheck, they almost never go back to spending every dollar they earn. $1 million. The top of the ladder, and the level the man at zero couldn't even let himself imagine. At $1 million, the same $2,000 phone call is genuinely beneath notice. But that was always a distraction. Here's what $1 million actually is. Invested sensibly, it produces something like $40,000 a year without him lifting a finger. For a lot of people, that's a full life's expenses covered forever by a number instead of a job. That's the real definition of the top rung, and it's quieter than the movies make it. It isn't yachts. It's the morning he realizes that work has become optional, that he could keep doing it because he wants to, not because a missed paycheck would end him. The leash he's worn his whole life without ever quite seeing it simply drops off. But now the secret the whole ladder was hiding. Walk back down it with me for a second. The jump from 100,000 to $1 million changed his net worth enormously, but it barely changed his day-to-day life because he was already safe, already calm, already sleeping fine. The jump that actually changed how it feels to be alive was much smaller, and it happened way down at the bottom. The jump from 0 to 1,000. From exposed to buffered. From dread to breath. That's the twist almost everyone gets backwards. They think the life-changing money is at the top. It isn't. The most valuable dollars you will ever save are the first ones, the ones that pull you out from under the ladder and let you finally stand on it. The $1 million is nice. The 1,000 is what saved you. So climb back down the ladder one last time. 0 exposed. 1,000 buffered. 10,000 safe. 50,000 options. 100,000 momentum. $1 million free. 6 savings levels. 1 identical bad Tuesday. And 6 completely different lives decided not by how big the emergency was, but by how much quiet distance each man had put between himself and it. And here's what I want you to actually take from this, because it's the opposite of what the number at the top makes you feel. Do not look at the $1 million and feel behind. Look at the first 1,000 and feel started. Because every rung on this ladder buys back a specific, nameable fear. The first 1,000 buys back the payday loan spiral. 10,000 buys back the toxic job you can't quit. 50,000 buys back a year to bet on yourself. And they compound, not just the money, but the calm. Each level makes the next one easier, because a person who isn't scared makes better decisions than a person who is. So the move is not to chase the $1 million. The move is to build the very next rung from wherever you're standing right now. If you have 0, your entire job is $1,000, nothing else, nothing fancier. If you have 1,000, it's 10. The ladder only ever asks you for the next rung, never the whole climb at once. Savings was never really about money. It's about how hard the same bad day is allowed to hit you. And you get to decide that quietly, $1 at a time, long before the phone ever rings. Start the first rung today. It's the one that changes everything. Count it quietly.